full name is Larry W. High. I received the nickname as Bear around the age of 10. At first I didn't like that name, but it grew on me and now I love it. I'm better known as Bear more so than Larry High. Well, I was born at 2641 Calvary Street in South Chattanooga. And my father passed I was at the age of 10, and we moved to Spencer J. McCauley Homes. And my older brother John started fooling around with clippers, and he had started cutting hair. And although he was older than I was only 10 years old at the time. But by the time I became 12 years old, I started going up to my brother's room after he would leave the house, and I would get his clippers, and I wanted to do me a few hairs, and I just started fooling around with clippers, and I became interested in cutting hair. And so at the age of 12, I had really started building up a little business, and I was actually charging 25 cents a head, and I had customers. When I was in high school, I made, out of my whole entire family, I made the lowest of grade average. But I was sort of interested in school, but I was mainly interested in cutting hair. So I would rush through school. Every evening when I get out of school, by my hip being effective, I would rush home and I would start cutting hair. That's what I really wanted to do. But my actually break came through when I was a senior at Howard High School. They called most all of the children of that senior class that had any type of ailment. They want us to go to Goodwill Industry and take tests because they had a program called Vocation Rehabilitation. And they would actually, if you qualified, they would send you to school. So I had to go out to the Goodwill. I think it was, Goodwill out on in East Lake. I took tests for approximately 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, they got in touch with Howard High School, and they told me, and they told the principal that I had scored very high on all of my tests, and as a matter of fact, on my accurate test, as far as using your hands and skills and all, they said my score was higher than anyone that ever took the test. So they asked me, any kind of school would I like to attend, because vocation rehabilitation would pay for my schooling. So the only thing I ever done, the other thing I really loved was barbering. So I told them I want to enter a barber college. It wasn't a barber college nowhere in Chattanooga, Tennessee. But a disappointment came after the vocation rehabilitation doctor looked at my medical file, and he said that he want me to choose any kind of occupation where I could be sitting down instead of standing up, because the condition that my hip was in, it wouldn't allow me to stand. And vocation rehabilitation, they turned me down. So I went back to vocation rehabilitation, and this is what I told him. I said, I don't care what the doctor said, I know I can stand. And right now, I have been standing more so and longer than probably any barber in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
That's Mr. McGee.
And I got a scholarship to Tennessee Barber College in Nashville, Tennessee. Now I'm just a little nervous now, because I know that I didn't do what I should have done in my books in school. So when I entered Tennessee Barber College in Nashville, I became friends with a lot of young guys my age, 19 and 20 years old. And at night, we became friends. They had a skating ring called the Hippodrome Skating Ring. And they would go over there, they partied on skates, and they just talking about the little girls be over there, they have a good time, they wanted me to go. And I said, no, y'all going. Every evening when I got out of school, I would go to my apartment, and I would study, And when I stopped studying, I would always finish my studying that night. I would get up and walk down Jefferson Street. Jefferson Street was a street similar to East 9th Street, where they had a lot of barbers and beauty shops. I would leave my apartment and just walk down the street, putting my face to windows, looking inside a different barbershop, getting ideas of one day how I want my barbershop set up. So I saw one barbershop had a TV mounted in the wall. And so that just stayed on my mind. So when I first opened my shop here in Chattanooga, which was approximately over 50 years ago, I had my TV mounted in the wall. That was in my building next door, the little small building. But getting back to my schooling, the lowest grade I ever made in schooling was probably about an 89 or 90. I scored very high. And in Barber College, they would have chairs set out for the best barber be on chair 1 on down to complete the amount of chairs that was in the shop. So when you first go to Barber College, they put you in what they call the free department. And in the free department, it's based on they'll leave you back there until they think you're qualified to come out front. So the first day I went there, they put me in the free department. The next day, they had me on chair number 6. I mean, because I could really cut hair. But I learned so much in Barber College. So a good friend of mine, Leonard Summers, he was on chair number 1. At this day and time, he and I, we're still friends. My family, his family, we have stayed connected for over 50-some years. So Leonard was a great barber. He was on chair number 1. And after he graduated, they was concerned about who going to take over chair number 1. They had a guy on chair number 2, his name was Cotwell Wright. He was from Nashville, Tennessee. He was a pretty good barber. So the head of the school, they normally appoint whoever they want to be on chair number 1. But they did it different this year. They said, what we're going to do, we're going to let the students vote for who they think should be on chair number 1. So the guy on chair number 1, a good friend of mine, Cotwell Wright, he had 1 vote. He voted for himself. Everybody voted for me, so they put me on chair number 1. So upon graduation, I moved back to Chattanooga. And my first job was at the old original Live and Let Live barbershop on East 9th Street. Now, the owner name was Mr. Willie McGee. His son name was Calvin McGee. Calvin McGee and I graduated the same year from Howard High School. We went to Barber College at the same Barber College. But after a year of me serving as a barber of Live and Let Live barbershop, Mr. Willie McGee made me manager of the shop over his own son, and we were the same age and came out of Barber College the same year. He made me manager of the shop over his own son. So I approximately worked for him for about 3 years. And after 3 years, I started out here in Alton Park. So I wanted to come back to Alton Park. So I was coming home one day, and I saw this little building, and this used to be a nightclub. So I saw this little building on the side in the back there. I said, that'll make a nice little shop. So I came inside, and I wanted to see the owner that was running the nightclub. And I spoke to him about renting that building on the side. He said, well, as a matter of fact, if you wait until after the night, you can have both buildings. I'm leaving out. I said, I'm not going to be down here anymore. I'm going to let everything go. So this Jew by the name of Gross, his name was I. Gross. My uncle used to work for Gross for years. He had a grocery store up in the housing project. So I got in touch with Mr. Gross, and I told him that this young man was talking about letting the building go. He said, well, I wasn't aware of that. I said, I'm interested in renting the little building on the side. Well, he told me, said, just wait down there and I'll meet you down there in a few minutes. So when he came in, Gross did, he and I walked in, and this young man, his last name was Billingsley, and his mother was working here with him. So his mother said that, well, he's going to let it go, but I'm going to keep both of them. I don't want to rent neither one of them. I felt disappointed, but Mr. Gross told me to go outside and wait until he talked to them. So I waited outside. He came outside about 20 minutes later, 30 minutes. Said, are you still interested in the building? I said, yeah. He said, well, it's yours. So I started out, opened the first Barber's Barber Shop in March 1970. And going back to my vocation rehabilitation days in Nashville, I received a check for $94 a month. Now this might sound crazy to you, but it's the truth. I would walk around, in Bible college, you can only keep tips. The money that the haircut, it goes to the school. Now if the customers tip you, you could keep the tips. I received a check from Vocation Rehabilitation for $94.50 a month. I've saved every penny of it. Sometimes I would walk around Nashville hungry and had hundreds of dollars in my pocket. But I had plans for that money, what I wanted to actually do with it one day. So after I left living that little barbershop, which I worked there for 3 years, I came to Alton Park and opened up my first business. I had $700, and my youngest brother, Samuel High, he let me have $200. I opened my first shop with $900, and that was 50 years, a little over 50 years ago. So I worked in, and I had my first barber in 1971. Well, he was one of my customers that live and let live. He was in service. And he told me, I'd like to be a barber one day. I said, well, I'm planning on opening up my own shop. I said, if you're interested, if you get some license, I said, I'll be in the Alton Park area. So I said, just look me up. And a year later, here he comes with some barber license, which he had completed service, and with the barber card over in North Carolina. I had my first employee in 1971. He worked for me approximately 32 years before he passed. My second barber, I had Jerry Dixon. He worked for me right at 30 years before he passed. But and I stayed in my first shop for 18 years, and then I moved around the front here. I've been on this side over 32 years, and I've been on this lot for over 50 years. They titled me the mayor of Alton Park, which I guess I accept. Well, see, basically what I see within this community and a lot of our communities, that these kids, they have no role models. All they see is drug dealers, gangbangers, and if this is all you see, this is all you know. But all these kids out here, they respect me, and I respect them. We love each other, and they, I can ask them, young man, pull your pants up, and they'll do exactly what I ask them to do. They really respect me, and I respect them. And some of these kids now, I gave them their first haircut, and a lot of these kids are granddaddies, and I gave their first haircut. They're granddaddies.
Right.
Yeah, a barbershop is more than just a barbershop. A barbershop is sort of like a community social club where men come in, they discuss different things to that nature. It can be some positive things for the kids to listen to. Sometimes we start talking about old time, and the kids say, y'all only had one TV station? We let them know how we came up, how hard it was. Now, when I came up, it was really hard. When I started first cutting hair at 12 years old, 25 cents a head, we only had mother. I bought my baby brother, the one that grew up and let me have $20 to open up my first shop. I used to do his Christmas at 25 cents a head. I would buy his whole complete Christmas for him.
Well, and you've been that kind of guy in the neighborhood. You fed people.
Yeah.
You give them money to people when they need money. So you've been someone that has been a stalemate of this particular community. Mm-hmm. Now, you're known all over Chattanooga, but in this community, you're somewhat like the Godfather. Yeah. That's why they call you the mayor of Alton Park.
Now, if you come to Alton Park and say, anybody know, I need to get in touch with Larry Hine, who is that? They said, we're trying to find Barry. Oh, yeah. But they know Barry. But, I've had people that actually help within this community. I'm going to tell you, when I take my hat up to Judge Gary Stearns, every year, Judge Stearns brings thousands of dollars worth of toys and clothes, not just toys now, coats and things for me to give to the needy. And that's exactly what we do with it. Give it to there's so many children that's in need. But my thing is, during the time I grew up right here in Alton Park, it was more for these children to do back then than it is now. Right. See, I was in this building for so many years before I realized why I was put here. I was put here by God, and God said He's gonna send me a lot of people that I can witness to. See, it was late in my life when God had a calling on my life. Now I realize why this happened the way it happened. I don't give myself no credit. I give it all to God. The building that I started in, which this is a much smaller building, but it's something about that building. That's my number one building. Although it's small, it don't matter. That's where I started at. And right now it's a restaurant, a nice restaurant right now. And I got the barbershop here. We got a clothing store over on the other side. We got a clothing store here. And then I own this whole entire property. And I got another barbershop, New Image Creative Cut. And I own a beauty shop, Lonnie's Hair Design. Those are my shops also. So right now I employ about 10 people. I employ about 10 or 11 people. Right now that I feel good that I've given them the job. I just thank God for that. Sometimes we talk to these children about how things was back in the days. They said, what? They couldn't believe that you get on the bus and put your money in the front and had to walk to the back and sit just halfway from the back. If it's no room in the back, and all the seats in the front, you still could not go up there. You can go in no restaurants. Only one restaurant we go in, that was a Crystal, but you couldn't sit down in there. You couldn't use the restroom there. You stand at the counter and get yours to go. Our African American policemen, they had to walk everywhere they went. They could not could arrest nothing but their own color. That's the only one they was allowed to arrest. But they had to walk everywhere. But these children, they don't believe things like that. But it actually happened.
But they come here and they get a lesson.
Yeah, they get a lesson now. They're gonna get a lesson in here.
So tell me, what would you envision for the greater good of Chattanooga as we continue to progress, and now we're in the midst of a pandemic, and we're trying to figure out how we go forward. So how do you look, and what would you say to our people in the future coming behind us, because this will be something that will be talked about, and you'll be talking about, and you'll be talking to some people as they come through the museum. So tell me, what would you talk to them about? How would you explain their challenges?
Well, let's take my field for instance. You'll be surprised of the young barbers that have their own shop now that actually pattern themselves after me. Because they saw how as well as I was doing. And Tim's Barber College on Brainerd Road. He graduated the same year my daughter graduated, Portia High. And he always would talk to me about barbering. He went to barber school. Now he have a barber college. Sometimes I go out there and I put on a demonstration to them about a different thing to how barbers supposed to dress a patron. There's a lot of things that's not being taught. What I see today, I see a lot of young barbers that can actually cut hair, but they do not know techniques. See, I was taught techniques. I was taught techniques. But we have got to have some positive role models for these children to follow. During the time that I came out of, that I spent in Spencer J. McCarty home, we had children's guys that was coming out of those projects that were very, very successful in life, not only in the bottom field, in all fields. But now I don't see too much coming out.
Yeah, that is attributed to a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Some things are designed for our people to fail.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So we have to understand this, but we have to make sure that our kids understand this, and they have to have a mindset that they're not going to. And that's one of the things that you had. You had a mindset early.
Yeah, my mind was set. It was set.
You knew early on what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I know from the age.
Did anything stop you?
I started cutting at 12, but around age 11, my mind was made up. But I started cutting at the age of 12.
And John was a good barber. Your oldest brother.
Now, John was older than me.
Yeah.
He was cutting hair before me. But I was licensed before John. And I showed John how to get into barber college.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I knew he was cutting a long time ago.
I opened John's first shop for him.
Okay.
When John bought, I was And in the early 90s, I was the first African American instructor, Chattanooga Barber Cotton, black instructor. And back in the late 90s, I was appointed by Governor Ned McWhirter to serve on the State Barber Board. Before retiring from the State Barber Board during that day and time, I was appointed Vice President of the State Barber Board. And I was recalled by Governor Phil Bradison not too long after that, and I served on the State Barber Board. But the first time when I was called by Governor McWhirter, I was the only African American on the Barber Board. But the second time I was called by Governor Phil Bradison, they had about 4 or 5 blacks on there, African American. And as a matter of fact, I was sitting next to Vernon Winfrey. He was that's Oprah Winfrey's dad. He and I, we sat next to each other, served on the State Barber Board. We had a man out of Memphis, one out of Spring City. We had, and it was an integrated board the way it should have been. But I love serving on the State Barber Board. It was something that it really amazed me, the things that we actually accomplished during the time we was on the state, but served on the State Barber Board. So I was proud of that. Well, what I see for Alton Park was once a segregated community. I see it being an integrated community, which is good. And I see businesses progressing out here. It's going to be a great thing out here eventually. I don't know what I live to see it, but right now, from Channel 12 right there, across the street where that hotel was, all the way back to 33rd and Alton Park Boulevard, they're getting ready to be a 125 housing unit. So that's going to be a big uplift. So I'm kind of excited about it.
Now, certainly you have contributed to the growth of this community as well as Chattanooga, period. And I think you will be one that will continue to contribute as long as your health will allow.
Yeah.
And we certainly want to thank you for the services that you've provided. And hopefully, when young men and young ladies look at this particular interview, they will get something out of it. If nothing more than you have to persevere in order to do the things that you want to do.
That's exactly right.
You're really committed to doing it. Thank you again for your service, and thank you again for allowing us to come out and talk to you a little bit about the things that you've done and the things that you will continue to do here in this community.
On my last statement, I just want to say this. Keep Christ first and never give up.